Compared to some of the projects that you've had presentations on, what I'm talking about is very much in the foothills rather than the summit. It's something that is to do with Loughborough University, but this isn't a pitch for Loughborough University. It's simply a description of the terrain that I know and the problem that I think is attached to it. I'm Professor of Literature at Loughborough, and I'm also convener of a group that's had some success in capturing funds, the arts in the public sphere. That will become, I hope, pertinent as I go on through this presentation. 7 years ago, Loughborough purchased a lease, a very long lease, on some of the buildings around the Olympic Park site in Hackney/Stratford, building on the legacy, as part of the legacy, of 2012 Olympics. This is a familiar, perhaps by now, plan of the area. And over here we have the aspirations that landed London the Olympics in the first place. What happens after a successful Olympics is that something has to be done as part of the bargaining. Jobs for the area, investment in the community, creative hubs, notice, as well as sports opportunities for youth. And the Loughborough campus is here. It occupies half of the building that was used by the international correspondents, the press, during the Olympics, and it's shared with BT Sports. And this is, of course, very far-sighted. This is the tale we tell. But there is something rather flawed about just simply jetting ourselves onto a community that is confronting great change, a community that is based on small-scale, creative units, already self-sustaining, and indeed part of something that isn't universally welcomed. This is a local artist's view of that same Olympic Park, David Downs, in 2013. Grey, a mess, ever being developed, never quite being developed, etc., etc. So there are two views of looking at this brave new world. Here we have the first of four very large, luxurious but affordable residential areas called Chobham Park. We have the very luxurious and not terribly affordable shopping centre, Westfield. Most of these areas you know very well from, if you've watched the transmissions of 2012. But over here, Fish Island, Hackney Wick, and down off here, there are a number of small digital startup companies, small acting groups, that aren't exactly welcoming what's happening with the possibility of increased rents, even if it means increased markets. And this is Chobham Manor, luxurious but small, I think. And this is a side view of what the London campus of Loughborough will look like, and an overview from the top. Anybody who goes and walks around the area knows that in its canals there are pop-up bookshops, restaurants, and there is a very characteristic graffiti topic, the Hackney Alice. So at the same time as you've got the brave new world, you've got something that is potentially resistant to that. Something that is occurring on the margins, something that is incurring the wrath of traditionalists who find their culture ugly. And I want to spend most of my time talking about a theatre group that I'm spending quite a bit of time myself, aside from Loughborough's mission, myself trying to develop links with some success. We have theatre groups there appearing every year. And the Yard Theatre prides itself, because it is small, on being able to encourage contemporary art. It develops competitions for budding playwrights within the Hackney, Stratford, Tower Hamlets area. It showcases of variable quality, but never mind, one-act play festival, specifically from the people who are creating these one-act plays from around 10 miles radius. And it plays to 75% audiences, which is amazing to me. It's contemporary art. It's not putting on yet another Shakespeare for the syllabus at A-level. It is contemporary art that nobody has any prior knowledge of how it's going to be or whether it's going to be a worthwhile night out. Its demographic is interesting. Unlike Royal Shakespeare Company, Royal National Theatre, the demographic is 18 to 25. 60% of the people who go, according to questionnaires over a 5-year period, are 18 to 25. And it transfers original works to the Royal Court, even the Royal National Theatre, to the Cottesloe. And its mission is to foster and present contemporary work in a congenial setting. And I want to explore what that congenial setting might be. First of all, there are a series of events which are deliberately mixed in terms of its artistic constitution. And very important, the club nights. Go and see a play at between 8 and 9:30, stay for the music until 3 o'clock. Immensely popular. And I won't go down that dark alleyway of saying, well, of course, they wouldn't come to the play if we didn't have the club night. No, they go to the whole thing in a kind of holistic environment. And I think it works, because they do get to see new plays. There are also events, do-it-yourself nights, donation entry, not a fee, and there's no schedule. You encounter what's there when you turn up. You're deliberately faced, as far as I can see, with an inability to evade the strange and the alien and the contemporary. You turn up, dip in, walk out, you see something. You're not a captive audience. And about 25% of what the Yard does is really sponsoring events like these. Again, there is street art on the way to the Queen's Yard. This is the Queen's Yard. I can't make it more glamorous. That's what it looks like. And the trouble is that this whole lot is for sale. According to the plans from the London Development Agency, this whole area is up for commercial tender and therefore commercial, I suppose, exploitation. And what it means is that, yes, rents will go up, but its use and mission will be affected in some way. And the consultation process, which started in February 2015, has only just finished as to what that might be. And we were called in as interested partners to sort of say roughly what we thought in a very preliminary way. But the plans were so inchoate and so abstract that we really didn't know what we were commenting on. Now, something about the performance space. I mean, first of all, Love in a Bath, and then the Mikvar project. There's the interior of one of the spaces, and there is the sort of restaurant that abuts the main area. It seats about 320. Of course, the plans for the new landlord are that it's going to exceed 600. Therefore, the need is for there to be something commercial enough to bring in a 75% return on 600, whereas the Yard had budgeted in the past for there being a return on a 75% attendance rate of 250, 320. But that's not the only building in the area. Right next to the Yard Theatre, in the same complex, is the White Building, and this is composed of several digital startup spaces, a bistro, all-purpose studios. And that is, I'm pretty sure, I'm led to believe, a fairly common summer site. Lots of people engaged, spectators, practitioners, but lots of people on short-term lease who are using the spaces to do something with. And here is an art gallery and Mix Garage, which is a real ale house, but also live music venue. And the thing is that according to the questionnaires that the Yard Theatre provide, this brings in about 50% of its clientele from well outside the Hackney, Stratford area, Tower Hamlets area. Now, the university at Loughborough are trying to, I think, in as altruistic a spirit as it can muster, trying to defend the interests of the heritage that is already there. And when I talk about heritage, I'm not talking about something that's got desperately deep roots. We're talking about what happened when the need to supply munitions and clothing for troops in the Second World War simply ripped apart late Victorian Hackney and Stratford. And so really what I'm talking about is a heritage that started around about 1940 and really continued in mixed usage from 1948 to around about 1980, before the developers took control. And here are some numbers. Well, the Space Studio's got a lot of space. The Art Theatre has got a lot of prominence. But its future is uncertain. And part of the consultation process that occurred this year was that the future, in order for there to be evidence of creative hubs, the future would have to involve an element of ensuring creativity in the area. And you could see that there are two sort of difficulties about this. The usual area of interest for these startup groups is something that securely lies on the margin. I don't think that this is just a self-image. I think it's to do with distribution. It's to do with entrepreneurial opportunity. Inevitably, the gentrification of this site will probably mean that the available clientele alters. Inevitably. So that's just, you know, are we Canute-like, holding ourselves against inevitable progress? Or can we devise a way that the creative communities can still retain an interest in the space and the opportunity that they've enjoyed in an informal milieu before, but taking that forward within the site of this kind of potentially destructive development. Rents, as I say at the bottom there, will increase by about 12%. And essentially for the Art Theatre, because of the proximity of so many residential apartments, club nights will have to be phased back or restrained. You can't have inebriated individuals leaving the yard at 3 in the morning. You just get far too many complaints. Unless everybody signs up to that as part of their lease, which is not likely. So, one of the main money earners for the yard is going to cease. So, although I've used the term Loughborough University, in a sense it's myself plus a few others interested individuals who are responsible for how the arts are going to appear on the London campus. This is not part of Loughborough University's mission. This is something that is freely chosen because we think we're interested in it. I'm sure that Loughborough University will be interested in how many international students will get through the door, and I suppose I ought to be interested in that. And indeed, of course, every problem, as one lives and works in universities, every problem may indeed be transformed into an opportunity. Been on too many university committees where that reversal of nomenclature has happened on too many occasions. So this is an opportunity. And one of the first things that we did was discover exactly what the big players who were moving into the Cultural Quarter, the V&A, the RCA and the Smithsonian, what they were going to do about this legacy of trying to ensure communal creative hubs. The answer was mixed, evasive, in fact. They hadn't really got it on their agenda. So the aim of what my research group is doing is first of all to draw a consolidated map of the arts ventures, which is, it means some harsh definitions of what arts venture might be, by the way. And also to discover what they see as being their planned activities over a 5-year period, but also host a symposium and just be an enabling force. Susanna said yesterday, of course, there is a role for the university to be broker, And for that to be successful, I suspect, we've got to be seen to be fair broker as well. But also, through our network, to help engage with external advisors from the creative industries. And one of the things that we discovered, and we sent out a questionnaire to all of those who, the Space Studios at the White Building, that the Yard Theatre gave us, the list of names of those who were either leasing or had performed at the Yard Theatre. We sent out about 670 questionnaire results. A, what would be the most desirable improvement to the Queen's Yard? We gave them 4 alternatives. What surprised us a bit is the absolute necessity for many of them, and in the discursive box this became quite clear, that they didn't see their artistic ventures as standing alone. It needed help with entrepreneurial placement, but it also needed, notice, a proximity to digital skills advice. As many as 43% said that that was a prime desideratum. Secondly, what would you most desire from the development of the Olympic site? Of the ones that occurred to us, we also gave them a chance to name other desirables. But I was a bit surprised that, of course, such a negative view, expect no help from this development, became evident. Indeed, when I gave the questionnaire to somebody who was otherwise very helpful, he said, oh, not another university. Yeah. University fatigue, I think, had crept in. And what do you fear about the new plan? And of course, the first thing is rents too high. Not, notice, less artistic freedom, but rents too high. And also, I think, one drill down, a worry about gentrification. Well, there are certain problems. First of all, what should the role of a university be in this? Should it be just laissez-faire? Should it just simply be looking on for the margins? The second thing, mixed spaces are not often profitable, and yet, for radical practice, they are exciting. By mixed, I mean mixed economies. No doors between different kinds of venture. Combination of art and entrepreneurial opportunities, but how? Legacy expectations, are we tied into a pre-2012 format? And indeed, how should we develop genuine dialogue? I'll skip the first 3. They, I think, are evident to anybody who works in universities. But I'll leave you with a quote from Stefan Collini. Universities are not just good places in which to undertake such fundamental questioning. They also embody an alternative set of values and their very rationale. Attending to these values may help us remember, amid difficult and distracting circumstances, that we are merely custodians for the present generation of a complex intellectual inheritance, which we did not create, and which is not ours to destroy. Thanks.